Good Thursday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with your live update as we go ahead and take a look at some of the different things here across the region. We'll go ahead and get into some of those temperature readings. First off, you'll be able to see 73 right now in toward Keystone in southern Bradford County there as we're looking at the airport. As we get up toward Jacksonville International Airport, we're at 74 degrees right now. You see some cooler air. We've had that cloud cover, some of that shower activity around to kind of cool things off overall as we look back at the last 12 hours in terms of those precipitation estimates. You'll be able to see some of the higher rainfall totals as we get to southwest Duval County, southeast of Baldwin, around 3 inches estimated by the Doppler radar. You see some other spots here, Clay County over an inch as we're getting near State Road 16 there as well. So just kind of giving you an idea of exactly what has been going on here across the viewing circle today with some of these rainfall estimates. But you look out toward Tallahassee, Albany, not near as much rain, and that's kept temperatures up a little bit as well. Less cloud cover in the picture as we're looking at Tallahassee right now, looking like not as many clouds, so you're getting a little bit of wind, 10 knots or so as the latest estimate. But 80 degrees there in Leon County, 81 in Dougherty County, and then as we look down toward areas there around Lowndes County, you're at 79 degrees. So just trying to give you an idea of what's going on. Even a few spots here peaking off to be our higher readings in our viewing circle. You see Donaldsonville there, and also over toward Bainbridge, they're at 82 degrees in toward those communities as we're looking at 6:59, almost 7 o'clock. These latest observations here look to be from around 6:30 or so. So we're just going to kind of keep an eye on things here. We broaden the view out a little bit more. And you can kind of just see here we have some moisture even towards South Florida here as well, getting to some of this as we're looking back at the last 12 hours. You see some of the rain, where they've had more rain around there as we're looking further back in toward time. So just trying to kind of give you a synopsis here on your Thursday. We go ahead and look here toward areas off here in toward Iowa. You see the contrast here in temperatures and then some severe weather possible. I'll put this into winter mode. You'll be able to see this is actually snow as we're looking up toward Minneapolis there, getting into some of that wintry precipitation as we get towards some of those spots. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about with the current conditions there to make sure that it actually is snow that's reaching the ground and not just another type of precipitation as we are getting in toward those cooler readings. But we'll go ahead and zoom in here toward Iowa right now, where we do have that potential for some severe weather, especially the hail threat. I know we've had some severe thunderstorm warnings there earlier, and we'll go ahead and switch over toward our other reader that I have focused in toward that region right now. And I'm talking about our radar scope computer, and you'll be able to see what is happening here with some of this hail potential. You see some of our indicators even popping up on the screen here as we get west of Cedar Rapids, maybe about a half an inch in size, near Marshalltown as well. Waterloo, Iowa, they're about 3/4 of an inch according to the Doppler radar estimates. We did again have severe thunderstorm warnings in play just a little while ago, so we're watching that threat. We're going to watch to see how a threat matriculates here as we get to tomorrow out toward areas toward the south and east. I know southeast Missouri, even a marginal risk there for some isolated severe weather. We'll watch to see how that evolves as the risk does go off toward areas further east as well. So again, just kind of stay tuned on that. Nothing huge, but still haven't been talking too much about severe weather lately. So we're going to talk a little bit about it here as we get towards some of these communities in the timeline. So again, there's your Doppler near Des Moines. We're just going to continue to track everything as we watch that Des Moines radar here this evening. But we're going to go ahead and put me back on camera now. You'll be able to see again another look at the region and then that hail risk. I'll go ahead and show you that area that we're talking about, Cedar Rapids over to Dubuque. Just kind of get into some of this potential here as we're looking ahead. You see these contrasting temperatures here as you have that cool front in play. You'll be able to kind of see this as I switch some different things around here and kind of see how things are evolving in toward the region at large. So again, there's kind of the overall pattern. You see that we even have a low pressure off toward areas there in toward Colorado as well. So again, just something always interesting to see here this time of year as we kind of follow the overall scenario that's evolving, but we'll go ahead and bring it closer to home right now. We'll put some of those temperature readings back on your screen for you as we're looking at our viewing area. And then Doppler, we've been watching that here closely. And are there some of you interested in where some of the showers are right now here as we get closer toward the first coast? So let me go ahead and go over to our GR Level 3 computer right now. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about right over to St. Johns River, for instance, as we're going from Clay into St. Johns counties. And in terms of street level mapping, you do have Meadowbrook Farms Road there being impacted, also down toward McCoy Road as well, as I put the maps on to see some of these areas I'm talking about here. And then as we get over further towards St. Johns County, you see some of this getting closer to 95, so we'll get in even tighter now. You see this around Registry Boulevard, for instance, also over toward Barrington Circle. So just kind of giving an idea of where some of the shower and storm action is, where we've seen some lightning around today. But as we go over here, we're just kind of looking again where we've seen some of the higher rainfall totals, and that is over toward southwestern Duval County. They're not too far away from Baldwin. You see in toward Marion County, west at Interstate 75 right now, getting into some of this around County Road 4, it looks like 464B there. So 464B is what we're talking about as we kind of look here on some of our street level mapping. So just trying to give you that overall summary here on what is happening right now. We'll go ahead and broaden things out again. We're looking out the Jacksonville radar. We've already kind of showed you what's happening toward Tallahassee as well with some of that moisture in play. I know there's a shower there in toward Liberty County, but activity not as robust there, and you've kind of seen that with those rainfall totals. But we'll go ahead now and switch you over toward some of our cameras to give you that window to the world, and you'll be able to see what is happening as we look toward Duval County here. You see some of the darker skies there as the sun's going down here this evening, and we're going to go ahead and switch you away from that one for now, though, as we now go over toward the UF Weather Stem camera and toward Gainesville. Alachua County kind of shows you a little bit clearer conditions in store, the way we're looking at things at least. You see some of the sun here shining as it does go down. You see some of these clouds here too, but an interesting shot here. Always nice to see these sunset images here across our region. And now we'll go ahead and take you over toward the FSU Weather Stem camera now. As we get over toward Tallahassee, you'll be able to see what is happening there. As we get toward Leon County, you see some of these darker skies in the picture. Definitely something to see here with that mixing. Not as good of a view as what we were actually getting out of Gainesville, but just always interesting to pop with these different cameras. There's a lot of days you'll see Tallahassee better than Gainesville, but a lot of other days you'll see Gainesville's view better than Tallahassee. It's just the way it works here with the overall scenario. So now we'll go ahead and move away from our cameras, and we'll take you back over toward that Doppler view one more time, where you see some of that accent is coming in there from the east, going generally west, and now getting some of that around Stark here earlier as well. And then as we go over toward radar scope again, we're looking at some of that accent as we get up toward parts of Iowa there, again with some of that moisture, some of that hail potential in play. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the tropics, I think, here now as we get over toward our graphic system, because it's still something that's worth talking about this time of year, as I look to see if we have any new information in terms of the latest tropical weather outlook coming out, and that'll generally come out, the latest update here, a little early, sometimes even during my forecast here. So a 30% chance of development, though, at the latest forecast, as we're looking toward Cuba, the Bahamas over the next 5 days or so. This will be impacting areas here in your South Florida, just watching to see if things evolve. The models here have been kind of all over the place, and even all over the place and toward the longer term. They've had issues this year because they're lacking that important upper air data, unfortunately, so it's hard to get a gauge on what's going to happen, but we're still paying attention down there. If this system isn't really going to evolve too much, we're still going to watch for other systems, because the overall pattern does suggest here that we could have some of that to occur. But right now we're going to talk about Epsilon. I'll get to that overall pattern here in just a moment as we see some of these more favored areas now. And sometimes you can get systems out here as well, like what we're getting with that tropical storm warning for Bermuda. You see the track here off generally toward the north, and then curving off here well east of Canada, but getting again into some of those tropical force winds as we're looking toward Bermuda right now. And we'll pop up our view there, we have winds I see north at about 20 knots, so under tropical force, which is good as we get toward that region. But it's always just kind of interesting to pull up the satellite here to show you what is happening overall as we go ahead. Looks like they have the first satellite here centered over parts of the Midwest here, and then some of those spots as we're watching the severe potential. So it's always intriguing to kind of look. It looks like they actually have both of their small satellite images here focused. So I think we're going to stick away and stay away from the satellite for now, because if I try to load the other satellite on here, we're probably going to kind of cut out. So we don't want to do that, as the images that we're seeing on satellite not as well defined now as the system is weakening, but still something to kind of take note of. I know we were seeing that well defined eye there yesterday. It almost looked like it was kind of an annular like type look to it. So just interesting to kind of see there as we go ahead and move along here in the cell. You see epsilon on this Greek alphabet list. If we get to our next name, that would tie what we saw in 2005 with the named storms, the amount of named storms that we did have. So interesting to see. And then as we get toward those October tracks, like I've been talking about. Now, one of the tracks similar to what we're seeing with Epsilon, but then other storms, like that area of interest, got to watch for more development here still in the Caribbean as we even get into November, though. The models, again, having a tough time, so it's possible they could ultimately drop what they've been sowing down there, because sometimes they like to spin things up and then nothing ever comes to fruition. And if they keep spinning things up further and further along, eventually the conditions just won't be favorable for that development to occur. So hopefully it keeps getting pushed further and further until eventually we just can't have it meteorologically. But still a possibility, still got to watch. Don't let your guard down. Have that hurricane kit up to date. But things don't look like an imminent threat here by any stretch of the imagination. As we look overward that tropical climatology, you see as we get toward areas around October 20th, we're seeing that dip, and then even a further dip as we get toward November. And that's what we like to see here, but we still have to watch. I mean, we've had storms, I always mention it because there's not that many actually to reference, but we had Kate 85, and that was a storm people in Tallahassee have never forgotten about, really, because until 2016 with Hermine, that was the last direct hurricane to impact the Tallahassee region, and that impacted them in mid-November. I know we're coming up on that 35th anniversary of Hurricane Kate this year, and again, it's such a big deal. I mean, it was a bigger impact really to Tallahassee than Hermine, and I dare to say even Michael here, really, as we look back. I mean, I was comparing them as I'm just kind of thinking of here off the top of my head. I do think it was a bigger impact than Michael in Tallahassee proper, with those winds that were measured. Of course, off toward the west, Michael was catastrophic, and I'm not downplaying that by any stretch of the imagination. It was way worse. But in toward Tallahassee proper, Kate was just a storm that, I mean, getting that in November like you did, it's just something that you don't really expect, but you gotta always expect the unexpected, as I say here in the Weather Center. So just stay tuned as we go ahead now and move along. Once again, you'll be able to see here with this rainfall forecast. We're looking here up toward areas there in toward eastern Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, not too far away there from Tulsa, Fayetteville, for instance. So getting up toward areas around, it looks like that Springfield area, some of those heavier rainfall totals. Cape Girardeau too, of course, as we do look off toward the east. There's just something kind of interesting to see. And then you look here, some more rain trying to come into view as we're looking toward areas here in toward the western Florida Panhandle, Alabama, Georgia. Just going to watch to see how a cool front evolves here and maybe tries to push closer toward our direction here, bringing us maybe cooler temperatures, but you're not going to see that in our immediate forecast here. I just got some new information, so since I referenced it a moment ago, we're going to go and try to pull it up. They just came out with the latest tropical weather outlook, so since we're on live, that's one good thing about being live. We can just give you that latest information as soon as it comes out, pretty much, and 30% chance still on that system we were just referencing a moment ago. As we're looking down toward the Caribbean there. So still going to watch to see how that evolves, of course, and see how moisture does come into view. Now, switching gears, though, early voting here, that early voting taking place once again across the region tomorrow, and they're giving you that forecast for that in terms of those weather conditions. You do see some AM fog that you might have to be aware of, but that'll ultimately clear. Scattered showers and storms around there, the chances a little bit lower overall than we've generally been seeing. We've been seeing more of a 50% type pattern, maybe more down to 40 tomorrow. I know the showers has been kind of coming through pretty heavy at all times of the day and night here in a random fashion. and that chance will still be there, but with those temperatures 71 tomorrow morning, and then as we get up toward the noontime hour, 81 degrees, 82 at 5 p.m. So just something to always be aware of here with the storms, but the temperatures look okay. I mean, a little warm, above average, as I'll reference here in a moment too, but as we go ahead and look for football here, you'll be able to see the Palatka Panthers taking on the Bradford Tornadoes tomorrow night at 7:30, and that game will actually be televised on My 11. That's digital channel 28.2, so that's something pretty exciting for the Bradford Tornado family, Palatka family as well. But I know for Bradford, my high school alma mater, I do not recall a game ever being televised in full here on live television. So something that is definitely intriguing, something to be excited about. That's on My 11 out of Gainesville. That signal there not too far away, coming out of the Alachua High Springs area. 28.2 on your antenna if you do have that, so on your TV hooked up to that antenna. So just make sure you have that pointed in that general direction if you're trying to get the action, as the temperature to be in the mid 70s there, 20% chance of rain. The rain chance is not too big of a deal for that action with those partly cloudy skies at that point here. Maybe a little cloudier earlier in the day, but overall it looks pretty nice here for the contest, as long as we don't get one of those renegade storms to come around. As we go ahead though and take a look here at my prediction, I know I have Bradford winning. I mean, Palatka, they haven't won a game this year. The Tornadoes overall, their schedule looks to have been tougher here in terms of the opponents they have beaten. Palatka not beating anybody, so that's kind of just a synopsis there, as we'll get to sports weather a little bit more tomorrow with that look at that FSU forecast. But there's an early look here at the planning forecast. I'll get back to this here in just a moment. We're going to pop up Radarscope one more time, as maybe some of you tuning in. We just want to say that look here at some of that action, some of that hail potential as we get up toward Iowa. It's always interesting to see some of that lightning load on the screen here as well. This doesn't give you the best look at hail, but it gives you one idea of where hail action could be, and you see some of these brighter colors here. I'll go ahead and take off the storm tracks here for now, and you kind of see where some of the hail potential is the biggest here up toward that state of slight risk of severe weather. I haven't seen that too much lately, so I thought it was worth touching on just a little bit more than we maybe generally would here with something like this, as we do again have a marginal risk tomorrow. We'll be watching for as we're looking downstream, but again, not too big of a deal overall. But now here's that forecast you've been waiting on, given that planning forecast here, that outlook. You see 40% chance of rain here tomorrow in the picture. Now as we get towards Saturday, 40% as well. Now Sunday falling off a little down to 20%. Monday even further down to 10% as you see those highs in the mid 80s, definitely above average. Hopefully we'll get some of those below average temperatures here as we get later in toward the timeline. I'll be looking forward to that. As you see here, these morning lows in those mid upper 60s. Definitely, again, above average, but I'm hoping maybe we'll get some of that core air in. I know some outlooks maybe suggest a warmer winter, but hopefully we can get some core air in. At some point, we definitely will have temperatures below average. As you look here, Jacksonville playing LA in the NFL on Sunday at 4:25. And at the last check, I'll go ahead and mention this as well. Changes with the coronavirus now. The Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 4:05 over on some Fox stations on Sunday. Moved off of Sunday Night Football, but that could change again. We'll be talking about everything here as we look ahead into the timeline. And then your FSU Louisville game going to be a little bit cooler for that, and what you're going to see around here with these temperatures, that's for sure. As you see these readings here, mid 80s in the afternoon hours, and then those lows in toward those mid upper 60s. Again, same story as over toward the Jacksonville, Gainesville area. So that pretty much does it here for today. We pretty much covered everything. I do want to mention the Tampa Bay Rays. Congratulate them on that win last night against the LA Dodgers. So that series tied. No game tonight, but World Series Game 3 will be tomorrow night there over on the Fox Broadcast Network. So something to look forward to there for sure, as the conditions will be getting a little bit cooler there, probably based on some analysis I did yesterday. And again, just kind of trying to give you everything that we need to here. I know we've had some of that rainbow accent around the region today as well, so something nice to see in the sky, something that is interesting to catch a glimpse of for sure. And then Just again, we'll be looking ahead here for some of this action here with that Tampa Bay Rays game here tomorrow night. We'll be giving you that forecast there for that. I know Brandon Lau, such a great game for him, and such a great game for the Tampa Bay Rays there. Hopefully FSU get that win on Saturday, as we already referenced. Bradford getting that win tomorrow, and then even maybe the Jaguars on Sunday out toward LA. That'll be a little bit tougher. The Tampa Bay Bucks have a better chance for sure of getting a win. As at this point, the Jaguars probably more in a position here, unfortunately, better off maybe losing some games because of the draft pick possibilities there next season. So that's just how it is sometimes in the NFL. As we leave you with one look here at that Jacksonville-Gainesville area forecast. Again, there's rain chances dipping some. You see the greater temperature contrast as the sun comes out a little bit more. And that's the same story in toward Tallahassee. Have a great night. I'll be back with sports weather tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in.